My name is Larry Holman. I have my master's in architecture. I grew up in Montana, and I was first introduced to hot springs as a very young child. I have a brother who's developmentally disabled, and he was really hyperactive as a kid. And growing up in Butte, Montana, at the top of the Continental Divide, we are surrounded by hot springs. I mean, I was literally trying to count them the last couple of days. And I think it's safe to assume there's probably 100 hot springs within 50 miles, 100 miles of my home. And so it was just part of what we did. And we would do it on the weekends because my brother was very hyperactive, and my parents were really good about teaching us to swim really early. And so I had that connection very early on. And growing up in Montana, as I got older, I learned to hunt, and we would choose our hunting camps based on where we could go to a hot springs. And so I really grew up with that. And when I moved to Seattle at the age of 29, I was dead set in corporate architecture, and I sort of lost myself for a few years. And I was having a really hard time, and I was missing the connection to Montana. And anyway, someone had told me about this Banya thing. I didn't even know what it was. In fact, I first heard rumors that it was some sort of clandestine sex operation. But it was new to town, and I went in there just petrified because I didn't know what was going on, but I heard that it had saunas and hot pools. And fortunately, I met one of the owners right away. And rather than spend a lot of time, because I know you guys have all been patient, I've become very good friends with the owners of the Banya. And would you go ahead and cue the YouTube video? This is just a 4-minute video, and this sort of changed things for the Banya. And this was done by a local TV channel.
Okay. Let me get there here. So I need to go full screen, right?
Yep.
So-called full screen. And it doesn't go anywhere.
Hey guys, on my way to work every day, I see this strange Russian-looking place. I always wondered, what's going on in there? Well, they beat each other with sticks in a 200-degree oven. Okay, maybe I don't want to know what's going on here.
If you don't think and just go in, it'll be a good experience.
So says Scott Rabinowitz, one of the owners of the Banya 5 Spa, Seattle's own little slice of Siberia.
It's a real Russian experience.
It's an extreme spa right out of old world Russia.
So any questions?
You have a Speedo? I need a Speedo. We often attempt humor to mask uneasiness. This hot-cold thing has us all feeling a little lukewarm.
Next step in the cycle is to go directly from there into the cold plunge. That requires faith.
With that, we're in.
If I put you next to Tom.
We will explain the hat momentarily.
As ready as it's gonna be.
Into the Perilka we go, a 220-degree brick oven. How hot? That hot. It's hard to breathe when you first get in. You loosen up in every which way. How else to explain the goofy-looking hats?
The hat lets you stay in the Perilka longer. It's slightly counterintuitive, but when you go in there without a hat, your hair gets really hot.
Okay, whatever, Scott. We just want to get out of here, but be careful what you wish for. Scott leads us into step 2, the cold plunge.
Let's go. Don't think.
It's a 170-degree drop from the oven to a 55-degree pool.
Definitely very cold, very cold. Goosebumps. A lot of goosebumps.
This collision of hot and cold is said to exercise your blood vessels and flush out toxins.
They can power past that initial sense of, oh my God, I'm going to die. That's really, really, really where the benefit comes.
Russian people, extreme people.
Retired surgeon Yelena Lyanchenkova is a massage therapist at the club. She grew up jumping into frigid mountain springs in Siberia and says she's never had a cold.
This is for health. This is real for health, yeah. If you want to be strong, you will be strong.
Step 3 is a dip in the tepid salt pool. A quick rinse, and you're ready to go again.
Round 2.
As many times as you like, depending on how much garlic-infused vodka you downed at the Venick Lounge next door. But back to the spa, where they serve traditional tea with jam with your massage. Or, in the very Siberian-looking scrub room, Yelena will cover you with honey and salt for a few extra rubles.
Skin will be like baby skin, like silk. Yeah.
There's a eucalyptus steam room, or you can just float in the salt pool. But if you really want to go Russian, you submit to the plaza. Soaked oak leaves imported from Russia are used to exfoliate and waft more heat from the top of the room down.
It was very hypnotic because there is both a sound going on, there's a rhythm that he moves through, which is almost like a dance or something.
So in the cold winter months, if you're looking for a pick-me-up, you may want to set yourself down in the Banya.
I'm addicted. I'm a believer.
The cool thing about this place is it's not an exclusive club. Anybody can come here for 35 bucks. Come on in, the water's fine.
All right, brother.
So we don't claim to be an authentic Russian Banya. The name Banya 5 was adopted because the owner, John Goodfellow, spent some time in New York at the 10th Street Baths. And he brought his love for Banya back to Seattle. And he just so happened to own a building in South Lake Union where he was dedicated to putting together his own Banya. And he's done a great job. We're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. And so,
Yeah, that's great.
so it's been quite a journey. And if you want to just, there are 5 points that I want to hit. And basically, you know, we've been talking a lot about spa, and I just want to talk about the business of owning and managing a spa. And also, I was one of the best customers when I first started coming to Banya. I joined right away and bought a membership, and I was there every day for the first couple of years because I was going through some healing of my own. And so, as an architect and as a problem solver, I'm trained to be an observer. And so I was observing things, and they went through some really bumpy, very bumpy ride the first 3 or 4 years. You know, trying to reach profitability. We had lots of Banya meisters that said, this is how you should be doing it, and then someone else would be saying, no, do it this way. And there was a lot of conflict, you know, with people using the Perilka and using the facilities. And so I was noticing this coming in and out, and I could see the strain, and people could sense it. And so, you know, the first thing, and you can go to the next slide, please. You know, if you build it, they will come. But will they come back? And so, you know, I started to do some information when I got some analytics when I got into the Banya. And I was noticing that we were like 60% new people coming into the Banya, and 40% had been there before. And that was a continuing theme. In fact, it's still true today. 30% of the people who come to the Banya are first-time users. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, 60%. It's like, why aren't these people coming back? And part of it, I think, was the vibe and the inconsistency of what was going on there. And you know, because it was new to the West Coast and new to Seattle, I think that you know, people had different perceptions, and there was a lot of confusion of what was going on there. And so, you know, we kind of got down to the basics. And if you want to go to the next slide, you know, we basically said, okay, we just need to create a clean, safe, and friendly environment. And let's just focus on those 3 things. And that's still our mantra. This is taken from, we're launching a new website next week. We are part of a global community that provides a unique blend of hydrotherapy, body treatments, and old world wellness rituals, all in a clean, safe, and friendly environment. And as a customer, I always felt that everyone had their own idea of it, and it's sort of a self-exploration. And Ted, I know to see, but we've rarely spoken because Ted comes in the evening, and I'm a morning guy. I like to start my day at the Banya and then get on with my day. And so, and there were times where people wanted, we had male-only days, we had female-only days, we had co-ed days. And so there was just a lot of very too many things going on in order to be consistent. And so we went to, you know, strictly co-ed. We didn't try to have times of silence. We just said, hey, we're going to let this thing be what it's going to be. And really, our customers have helped define what the Banya is. And so the year that I was at the Banya, I was really working with the staff to try to create a hospitality environment. And you can go ahead to the next slide. And so, you know, we had the stage was set. The facilities are beautiful, and it's really well maintained. We closed for a year for a week every year just to renovate and clean the Banya. And with the number of users that we have coming through, it really does take its toll. I mean, some of the photos that I was going through, I think all of the tile has been replaced at least once or twice over at least maybe 3 times over the last 9 years. But the environment was there, but the hospitality wasn't there. And so in working with the staff, I said, you gotta let people experience this their own way. And you can't try to dictate how people should use the Banya. And so, you know, we started to create a different vibe by just having the attendants stand back, and if people had questions, we would give them to them, you know, we would answer them. And then, you know, that video, King 5 came to us and they said, hey, we want to put you on Evening Magazine. And that was a game changer for us. And every time that there's a rerun of that program, and the reruns are every so often, they'll replay this, even though that was 4 or 5 years ago. We always get a spike in attendance. And so, just a real quick question, how were you all introduced to sauna? 3 ways that I've come up with. Who was introduced to it by their parents? Just raise your hand. And who was introduced to it by a friend? And who found it on their own? Yeah. And so, you know, there's sort of those 3 ways, you know, either through growing up in it, through friendships, or through finding it on your own. But other than that, I mean, there's a whole world out there of people who really need to find sauna. They need to find the bath culture. And we've tried a number of things. And so, you can go ahead and go to the next slide now. Staying afloat. It's like we created the environment, we created the hospitality, and then we needed to build the business. And so we have done it all. I mean, we've done mailers, this was a health fair. Every year we put a booth up in the neighborhood at one of our block parties, and we promote it that way. And so we have spent a lot of money going after clients, but it still stands true that the number one way that people find us is through friends, through growing up into it, or just the occasional adventurer who comes in. But it's amazing to me that still 30% of our business are new customers. And so go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And so this is where the evolution of bath culture comes in. And by bringing this to America and by having a place in Seattle that none of the, I mean, John Goodfellow, the owner, has the most experience in it, and that was just in his few years of being in New York. But one of the things that I had success in bringing more hospitality and more users is through social media, through Facebook. We've got 3,500 followers on our Facebook page. We get about 7,000 hits per month on our website. That video, I think, has had 36,000 views. And we don't take reservations. We try to serve the entire community. And so one of the things that I came up with while I was there was this live bather count. And so using Google Documents, that's our check-in sheet. And basically, we know how many bathers are in the Banya at any one time. And so I designed this app, and we also have it for our website, where people who are regulars can turn on their app. Ted just pulled his up. And it tells you, it goes from green to yellow to red. And it basically is the number count. And green is sort of mellow, and if you're looking for a mellow state, and you don't want to go in there when it's busy and there's a bunch of noise in the Prilka, you can sort of gauge when to come in. And on the weekends, on a rainy day, it can be very busy. And unfortunately, we have a wait list. And so when it goes to red, people that will either go to our website and they'll see that we're at capacity, or that you know there's room available. And so I think that, you know, to sort of conclude my little speech about my experience with Banya is that in America we borrow from different things, and we sort of make it our own. And Banya 5 is constantly in transformation. And the state that it's in now is very healthy. We've got 100 members at Banya. And that's really our capacity, because we always want to make room and leave room for people to experience it the first time. And I just think that, you know, with open minds and open hearts and promoting the goodness of bath culture and not trying to say this is the only way or my way or the highway, I think it really allows this to evolve into something that will maybe become uniquely American or uniquely Northwest or, you know, and so I think in every neighborhood it can be a different thing, but essentially it brings people together and it's about good health.
Oh, that was great, Larry.
Thank you.